Now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Regan's Rugby Strength and Conditioning. I've got a guest who has gone through my program and also has pretty cool, I'm guessing, stories and experience because he was a Premiership ref not too long ago and now is still involved with a bit of TMO work. So it's David Rose and he's joining us. It's early on Friday. I'm a bit tired. If you're watching the video, my hair's still a mess, but David's giving us some of his Friday morning. So cheers for giving us your time, buddy.
No problem. Pleasure.
What are you up to today?
After this, I'll be off to the gym, do a session, and then off to work.
Off to work after. Yeah, so I thought David would be a cool guest because we spoke a few times when he was doing my program. And it's a good example of how I don't want to always show off about people losing 2, 3, 4 stone because David just came and asked me for help and we kind of tweaked his nutrition, gave him a food plan. What were the results last year? Was it maybe just under a stone loss or something like that?
I lost 7 kilos.
Just over a stone, yeah.
Yeah.
Because most guys I probably do get on here are the guys with the big changes, but it's not only guys like that who jump on the plan. And David just wanted some help with the workouts, with some motivation and lockdown and stuff. And so that was cool. And I think it would be good to talk about refereeing as well. How's your training going now, David? I think you finished the plan last year, right?
Yeah, just beginning of this year I finished the plan. I think end of Feb, I think it was.
Are you back in the gym?
Yeah, so the gym is back open now. Enjoying that, the atmosphere being back in. I enjoy training with other people, not with, but around other people, so that helps. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and enjoying it. So I'm literally almost like continuing on with what we were doing in essence, because I found that it worked. So you kind of go, well, keep that consistency going. Mm-hmm. Why change something that's working and crack on? So that's what I'm doing probably 4 times a week, getting out there and doing some stuff and enjoying it.
That's cool, yeah. And I like to tell people that it's kind of like you're learning about maybe the best way to train. And if you can carry it on your own, then that's a job done for me. It's perfect. Like, I don't want to hold people on forever. And there's some people that have coaching principles that don't actually show the person what it is, but hopefully you might agree that you've learned how to do it and maybe made some tweaks and now you're just sort of carrying on your own, which is perfect. How's your food these days, David? Is it still how it was, or is it without the accountability changed?
No, it's still pretty much as it was. With what I do for work, it's sometimes a struggle, but what I've done is I've learned how to kind of eat on the road, as it were, and eat healthier on the road and avoid things that are easy to pick up. So one of the things I've taught myself is when I go and buy some fuel, is just go and buy the fuel. Don't go and pick up a snack and stuff like that. Just you kind of having that single focus is I've come to get fuel. I'm going to get my fuel, get back in the car, and I'm off.
Yeah.
And that kind of self-discipline's really helped. Mm-hmm. Cut down largely on snacking, and even so-called healthy snacks. You end up they're not that healthy.
It depends what you define as healthy as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of doing things like that, just little tweaks that are manageable without going overboard and kind of really feel like you're punishing yourself. Mm-hmm. And actually reverse that, because I feel a lot better for not doing it. I feel great, I've not done that. I've not given into that temptation again. And so that's really helped as well.
I think with the petrol station stuff, it turns out mainly a habit. Like, you're there conveniently, all the chocolate is right underneath where you pay. It's almost like it's there deliberately. Yeah. It's a habit. And I say to guys, before they join the plan, if there's no reason to look after your weight, if you don't care about how you're looking and feeling, you're going to have a Snickers and a whatever, because it's right there. It's put there deliberately, so you grab it. But once you make a shift and you think, right, it's not necessary, I'm going to have to run for an hour and a half to burn that off, and you just figure out what you actually want in your head, then it's obviously an easy fix. And some people, I have truck drivers and people who they have to eat at petrol stations. It's almost impossible, and they're on the road for 6 days at a time. And you really have to pick what you have and prep. I know prepping is important, but for these guys, if they're on the road for a couple of days, you can't bring chicken breast in your warm car for that long. And it's just about trying to choose the healthiest thing. And it's sometimes I explain it's like damage control. If you're doing 4 days of a big job, you try and just eat as well as you can. It might not be perfect. And then when you've got 4 days off your job, you can focus on it perfectly. And someone else was going on a mini rugby tour, or not rugby tour, it was like just a holiday a couple of weeks ago on the program. And I said that it's not going to be healthy. You're not going to be having meat and vegetables. There's going to be some drinks. Don't alienate yourself from the whole group. Just damage control as much as you can. Try not to drink beers the whole weekend, and you can still enjoy yourself and still sort of not ruin all the progress we had from the last sort of month or so.
Yeah.
And it's good that you're keeping up with that as well, which is cool. And then the other stuff is obviously the cool rugby stuff that we can get into, which was obviously all your refereeing. So why don't you give me and anyone listening a bit of background to maybe how you got up to be a Premiership ref, and maybe the steps that anyone has to go through to get there. So that'd be really cool to find out about.
Yeah, it's changed a lot since when I started. The process is a lot better. The talent ID is a lot better, and the support and development is a lot better. And in one of the jobs I had when I worked at the RFU, I was a regional development manager for referees, and my colleagues and I, we set about changing the system to make what I did not the exception, but more the rule. But the way I got into it was really, really strange, and it's kind of like how a lot of people get into it. You kind of fall into it. Really, you don't kind of. It's not something you kind of think, oh, definitely going to go and do that. Some do. But in my case, it wasn't. And I was working as a development officer at the time, and we were running some squads for young players, and we couldn't get referees for our sessions. So I decided that because I was the fitter, slimmer of the two of us, my other colleague Graham Smith, who coached England ladies to the World Cup in 2014 and about 8 Grand Slams, I think, he said, right, you can do it. So I did, and really enjoyed it, really enjoyed doing it. And funny enough, somebody saw me doing it who I didn't know, but it was a member of a local referee society, and said, why don't you it up? And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'd always been one of those players who gave referees.
Hello, I'm doing a live recording. Bye. Sorry.
We gave referees a bit of stick, so it was very much going to be poacher turned gamekeeper. Anyway, I ended up in the office, which was based in Wolverhampton, at a place called Castlecroft, which the RFU used to use as the National Schools Development Centre. And the head of refereeing had an office in there. And I walked in, and he said, "Oh, come over here a minute. I've heard some stories about you." And I said, "Oh, yeah, what's that?" And he said, "Well, I've heard you've been doing some refereeing." And I said, Yeah, just a bit on the side. He went, "Well, you never made it as a player. You're not going to make it as a coach." Yeah. He said, you could make it to the top as a referee. And I looked at him and I said, "You cheeky," and I won't use the word on this podcast.
You can. We swear all the time.
He said, "You cheeky twat." And he said, "Well, that's the way it is. That's the reality." And I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Well," he said, "I think you could make the 2003 World Cup." And this was when were we talking about that? This is 1999.
I was going to ask what year this was happening, and yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I said, "Not a chance." Anyway, cut a long story short, I didn't make the 2003 World Cup, but I did make my Premiership debut in 2003. I actually refereed my first game of proper rugby in 1999.
What's proper rugby to you? Sorry.
So men's adult rugby.
Yeah. Okay.
Men's adult rugby, and that was, I'll never forget it. It was in Warwickshire, and it was Ford Leamington versus Claverdon Thirds.
I'm too young to know what those teams are.
Yeah, Ford Leamington don't exist. Ford Leamington was out of the Ford car plant in Leamington Spa in Warwickshire.
Okay.
They had a team. Anyway, after the game, this prop came up to me, dripping, and this is September the 1st, so it's early season, typical hot day. This prop comes up to me with a pint and says, "Here you go. I never, ever, ever want to see you again."
Why?
And I went, "What?" He said, "Look at me." He said, "I'm dripping." He said, "I'm 19 stone." He said, "Do you know how many scrums we had today?" I said, "No." He said, 4. He said, "I play rugby for scrums, not to run around and have something like you refereeing." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "You just kept playing advantage. We just kept running around." And I said, "Oh, right." And I said, "Okay, fair enough." And he said, "Anyway, the reason I said I don't want to see you again is I'll never see you again because you're far too good for us."
Oh yeah, that's nice.
And the guy who actually ended up being my first coach, said, one of the lessons you'll learn is that at certain levels of the game, players want certain things, and that's true. So in other words, what this guy was saying to me was, it's all right playing advantage, it's all right getting everybody to run around. If you're 19 and a half stone and you like scrums, you want to have a game with some scrums in it. You don't want to have a game where everyone's running around like headless chickens. So me thinking I was doing the right thing actually was doing the wrong thing in many respects. And it's a really interesting lesson learned at that point. And then a year later, I got on what's called the National Panel of Referees, which is the top 60 referees. So I went from being in a pool of about 8,000 referees to the top 60 in less than 18 months.
That's well cool. It's well quick progression.
Yeah, and then in 2001, the middle of 2001, the RFU referee department formed what they called at that point the Elite Referee Group, and I got invited into that. And then I ran the line in Europe and the Premiership for 2 years, and then made my debut just after 2003, just after the World Cup. Sale versus Bath at Edgeley Park.
Oh, cool. And then how long did that Premiership refereeing span?
I refereed for 10 years in the Premiership, 14 in total at the top level. And it was a great time. Absolutely loved it. Loved every single minute of it. And it took me quite a while. You hear about players who, we hear a lot about mental health issues with players and things, and athletes who have to retire from top level sport. One of the I found the adjustment really, really, really hard, from going from being on the pitch with all of that goes with it to not being there. It impacted me massively mentally, and it took me quite a while to get over it. And didn't have any support that other people get, but it was tough. But I wouldn't swap what I did for anything. Loved it, really, really enjoyed it.
Is there support for referees stepping out? Because I've heard of Life After Sport and a few top players talk, but is it passed down to sort of?
No, nothing whatsoever. Nothing. The RPA is just for the players. I've reached out to the RPA and they're not interested, but that's the same for Championship players as well. Unless you're in the Premiership, there's very little support from the RPA. There's nothing from the RFU itself. So you basically have to go and find your own support mechanisms, which is what I did. I reached out to LPA, and they were okay. They helped put me in touch with some people, and I got some support that way. But if you're on your own and you're not able to find support, it's a lot different now. In the last 8 years since I retired, things have moved on massively. But still, there's nothing direct. The lads now who are refereeing professionally, they've got a sports psych who works for them full time. They've got that, but I'm guessing that once they retire, it'll be thanks very much, off you go, and that'll be it. You'll be yesterday's news. And that's the brutality of professional sport that a lot of people don't understand and don't see. So that's why it's very much dog eat dog. Look after yourself. When you're in that environment, because you're going to have to.
Yeah, it's difficult because I'm aware of the players that are part of these schemes or whatever you call them to help people transition and learn skills to get a job after. But don't mean to say it in a bad way, but I mean people probably don't think of the referees like the players only, and it's different.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, what they in their defence, in a way, for all the guys refereeing professionally now, they've all got a secondary, if you like, job, which they might do 1 day a week, half day a week, couple of days a week, depending on their schedules. So a lot of them, Wayne Barnes is the most high profile. Wayne's always been a barrister.
Oh, really? They get told to have jobs on the side?
They don't get told to, but they're helped to. So Wayne, even when he first became professional, he was a barrister before he became a professional referee, and he made as part of his discussions, he said, "I am not going to give up my career as a barrister. It's not one you can just drop and pick up." Mm-hmm. So they gave him the dispensation to sort of carry on with his barrister career, and Wayne successfully juggled, everything he's done over the time he's been a professional referee. And I know a number of the others have got other irons in the fire in terms of making sure once they finish their refereeing career, they've got something to go into almost straight away. So there is that. On that side of things, they're looked after, but you'll still have an issue in terms of mentally what it'd be like, when you run out at Twickenham in front of 60,000 people, and the lights go off afterwards, nothing replaces that. Welford Road in front of 20,000 people, and everyone's baying for your blood, or 16,000 people are baying for your blood. Again, the lights go off, and you've got nothing to replace that sort of thing. So yes, you'll have a job, you'll have financial security, but it's how you can't replace it, as you know, and people you've spoken to will tell you. But it's kind of what do you replace it with, and how do you transition away from that is, I think, the key for some people. Having a job or not will be a challenge.
Yeah, the job might be you getting more of the income, but like you said, it's a completely different way of living your life. Like a couple of times a week, you're with this stadium and all these people, and yeah, it's very different. Didn't think we'd get on this topic, which is good. When I stopped playing, it was difficult, but that was like 1920. Obviously, you haven't spent a whole lifetime doing it. But yeah, it's a tough bag to get out of once you've got all that, sounds silly, but kind of power and control and stuff from all these players and all this excitement. And I asked you, go on.
I think it's more I don't think it's about the I think it's more about the ego, and I think it's more about the environment, because every top class sportsman or woman has got an ego of some sort.
I think you have to be confident.
Massive. Oh yeah. You have to be. You can't show any weakness. So, everyone's got that in their locker. But I think it's more the environment that you miss. It's more the doing, the adrenaline you get from your preparation, knowing that on Saturday or Friday, Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, you're going to go out and you're going to be in front of a crowd of tens of thousands of people on TV, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's tough. I always liken it to when I was going through my sort of mental health challenges, people used to say to me, "Yeah, but you went out and refereed in front of thousands of people." I said, "Yeah, because the pitch was my safe place. The pitch was where I could put all the other things to one side and concentrate on what I was doing for that period of time. And I was in total control of myself, what was going on around me. So that made things a lot easier for that period of time." So I think when you're in that bubble, life's a lot different. And when you come out of it, then the reality kicks in, and you're in this, back in the real world with everybody else. But I certainly think it is about the adrenaline, the ego. I think it's about the fact that like everybody, you want to do a good job as well. You want to get things right. You want to, you want to be accurate in your decision making. You want to get on with people. All those things are really, really empowering to you as an individual. So, I get messages now of players I refereed in the past. And when I see people, now I'm doing the TMO stuff, and I see some of the older players and whatever around the circuit, we always have a chat and what have you, which that to me says everything. That to me says that at some level I had a relationship with these guys, that they respected me enough that now, time's passed, we're all older, we're no longer be able to do it, but we can recognise each other's, if you like, abilities and what we're trying to do. And I think that's a really good thing about the sport, that we can all enjoy. The sport's got lots of problems at the moment, I think, but I think that interplayer, inter-referee relationship, I think, is one of its real foundations and still real strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the purpose and like having a meaning is like a word that comes to mind. Like, you're there to do that job. You are required. You've been asked of to do that. And when you don't have that purpose, it's kind of just like, well, what am I doing now, really? I like asking if people are doing any sort of projects at home, and something that we've started, because we just got a house, is planting some vegetables, which 2 years ago I would have laughed at. But like, having something to follow and a purpose and a plan and things like that, it's rewarding in a very different way. But I think it's important to have like things that you're doing that are not just work and not just family, like things that are sort of rewarding in different ways, because otherwise you're just going to be just going through every single day.
And one of the things I used to do with, like, going back to the training for a moment, is unlike when I was in a team, when I was playing, you got your mates around, you've got all that stuff that motivates you. When you're training on your own, you kind of think, right, I know why I'm doing this, because I've got to keep myself in shape for the weekend, and I've got to, I don't look like a fat Teletubby on TV or something. But equally, we used to get tested 4 times a year, and the testing used to take a whole day. We got tested on
fitness testing.
Yeah, so we would get tested on every metric you could. We would get we do all our physical tests. We do law tests. We would do psychometric tests. All kinds of things we would do.
That's really cool. I didn't realize it was that advanced and sort of.
Yeah, as a group. So one of the things I used to think when I was training was, right, at the time Ashley Rowden training, is Wayne Barnes training, is so-and-so training, is, all these guys, Chris White, Dave Pearson, all these guys who were around when I was around. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm training and they're not, that's going to give me an edge. When we rock up to fitness testing, I don't want to be at the back of the bunch. I want to be at the front of the bunch. I want to be quicker than X or quicker than Y. I want to get a better score on the stamina test, or whatever it is. That was my driver. And
still like a sport in itself, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of giving you, go back to that motivation thing, giving yourself the motivation to go, why am I doing this? And this is why I'm doing it, because A, I've got to try and look as good as I can, and B, I've got people I'm competing against.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to get deselected or thrown off the group or whatever because I'm not performing well in my tests. And that, people talk about referees getting dropped because of poor performance. They do. You just don't hear about it. It's not as visual as a player who gets.
Because we don't know the ins and outs. Like,
exactly. So
trying to play.
Yeah, you get assessed every single game. Every single game you're being assessed, and you're getting feedback from directors of rugby and coaches, which is all goes into the mix. And if that's not where it should be, you ain't getting a game. And if you've got a game next week on the schedule, and you perform poorly, it's up to me, it's up to the referees. You get pulled from that game. But nobody knows because they haven't printed the schedule.
Oh,
but
wow.
Nobody knows.
Cutthroat.
Mate, it's brutal. It happens. And it's brutal.
How is there, I'm going to make up, is there like a pool of 20, 25 guys, and then they fill it in? Or how would the Premiership or RFU select someone for said game? Is there a process, or is it just?
Yeah, so the way it works now is you've got.
Even back then, yeah.
Yeah, you've got the referees now are all professionals. When I was doing it, there was a mix of professional and part-time, like myself. And and there were probably about 15 of us then. There's now a pool of, I think there's 10 full-time professional referees, and I think there's 3 lads who do it part-time, but they rarely get matches now. They get matches when all the internationals are on and things like that, and all the guys are off running the line, TMOing, all that kind of stuff. So those guys get selected on a 2-week rotation or a 2-week basis. So you don't know your fixtures more than 2 weeks in advance. It used to be a month in advance. Now it's 2 weeks in advance. Sometimes it's down to a week, depending on circumstances. They all get managed by the professional game match officials team, which is headed by a guy called Tony Spreadbury, and he's got a team of selectors, and they'll select based on performance each week, and then those games will be officiated, I would say 99% of the time, by the professional referees, and that's how it works now. And to get to that, the process to get to that is as it was before. So you join your local referee society, you'll progress through that. You'll then go into a district level, then a regional level, then national, and then you'll get selected from that into the elite group. But you can fast track any of those steps. So if somebody identifies somebody who's got some talent, what Tony will do, Tony Spreadbury, will send one of his guys out to have a look at them and assess them and go, yeah, this guy's got something. Let's see how he develops over the next period of time. And then a few months later, a year later, they go and look at them again and go, yeah, we need to fast track this guy. That guy might get fast tracked into like the championship. And then if they're really good, you know, depending on budgets and everything else, they might get offered a full-time contract.
So that's kind of like scouting, like normal players. Like that,
Yeah.
you look at someone's video, maybe send someone to watch a game, come back, reassess, then invite them up. It's just like players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. Didn't know that at all. I was going to mention a few moments ago, talking about like prepping for a big game. So like obviously players go through video analysis, they have their backs, their defensive coach, whatever. Is there like a set thing that you would do 48 hours before? Like, are you told to, keep an eye out for this guy because he does this? Or would you look at video and say, last week they did this, I'm going to be tight? Like what's the process leading up to a big game? Or was it, sorry?
Yeah. So you would obviously know your fixture on, you know, from the week before. So you literally, once the fixtures are all done, they're all downloaded and they're all online, so you can go and look at them. You can code them. You can cut off all the scrums if you want, all the lineouts, all that. So you can break it all down into bite-sized chunks, and you'll work with either your coach, because every referee has a coach as well. Somebody's helping you as a coach. Some of the guys now got some of the ex-players who work with them as on specific areas, like Dave Flatman works with a couple of guys on scrums and stuff like that. So you'll look through the game and you look at trends. You won't look at individuals because those individuals can change, but you just look at trends and look at, you know, what a team's doing, what they're doing at scrum, what they're doing at scrum in their own 22, around the halfway line in the opposition 22, all of those kind of things. And you'll build a picture up during the week. So by kind of Wednesday, Thursday, you've done your prep in terms of what you think is going to happen on the weekend, and then you'll either do a presentation or you'll brief your team. So your 2 assistant referees, you'll do a brief for them and probably send out to them your thoughts and some clips for them to look at and analyze for you and say, look, guys, you know, I'd like you to stay on the high-tech side of Quins for this match, because I want you to get a good picture of what they're doing on that side, see if it matches up with what the analysis is, and then feeding information to me during the game if necessary. And if there's not a problem, don't say anything. So you'd have done that probably by Thursday at the latest for a Saturday game, probably Wednesday for a Friday, and again Thursday for a Sunday. So you've done it all. You've got all your prep done. You've done all your physical training as well. You know, if you're on a Friday, you probably finish your training on a Thursday. Saturday again, you probably finish on a Thursday, maybe even a Friday, depending on what your training is. So you're probably going to do 3 to 4 sessions a week in training, and probably about 10, 15 hours a week of prep as well for the game, depending on what it is. And then, you know, you literally by Thursday, you'll have also done within that prep your analysis of your previous week's performance.
Of your own one.
Of your own performance, yes. So you'll probably box it off by Tuesday and done all your stuff by then. So in that early part of the week, it's quite heavy because you do your post-game kind of analysis, your pre-game analysis, and your S&C as well. If you've had a game, the hardest things like players, if you've got a game Sunday, Friday, you've only got probably maximum 3 sessions physically you can do, because Monday will be a recovery, Tuesday you can do probably a light session, Wednesday a heavy, Thursday you probably do a light session on a Thursday, game Friday. Mm-hmm. So again, the schedule dictates how you do it. And when you're part-time and juggling a job, as it was in my day, that's really hard. So you're coming home at night and then doing your prep, doing your training, doing your prep, not seeing your family, pissing people off because it's rugby again. It's rugby. And then off you go again. But that's, nobody forced us to do it. We made a choice to do it. So it's quite intense for referees as it is for players.
And is that probably the same around now then?
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's more technology. You talked about technology before. Now there's loads more technology available to the guys. When I first started, we didn't have TMOs. We didn't have proper communication. We used to have these things called the touch judge flags. Used to have microphones in them.
The flags themselves.
The flags would have a microphone in the flag, and you'd push a button on it and talk into the top of the flag to the referee.
That is great.
But the referee couldn't talk to you. It was one way.
Just one way.
Yeah, so you could talk to the ref, but he couldn't talk to you. And then it moved on from that to 3-way communication, where it was press a button to talk, so we could all talk to each other, but the ARs would press a button to talk. So now it's what they call an open mic system, so you're constantly in communication.
Oh, it's always on?
Yeah, but the ARs have to press a button to talk, so sometimes you'll see them touching their
I've
waist,
seen that, yeah.
And they're pressing their comms button to talk to the referee. Mm-hmm. But the communication's open, so the communication's open all the time, so everyone can hear what the referee's talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's developed over time as well.
So I think with refereeing, there was 2 things I was going to ask, like, say how it's progressed. And the first one is like rules on player safety, which I think is very, 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 very important. I'm in a lot of groups where there's bitchy, moany people online, blah, 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 blah. But like the second someone's neck breaks, the sport's going to be banned or something like that. So I'm all for those, and we can chat about how those have increased. And then the TMO thing, I think that has gone up a lot more. And is there anything in place to like stop the guys going to the TMO for like every decision? Because I think it does slow it down a lot.
Yeah, so I think there's a few myths around the TMO stuff, which is interesting to me as a TMO. So when it first started, the TMO could only talk about matters in goal. That was it, nothing else. And then that clearly was still not helping the game, because you were seeing there was mistakes being made and tries being scored which shouldn't be scored. So it's developed to where we are now. And in terms of where we are now, the referees that you work with are really clear about what they want from you. And that is, we've got a protocol which covers in goal and foul play, and that's it. And around that, what the referees will say to you is, it has to be clear and obvious. But don't go looking for things that aren't clear and obvious. But don't go searching. Don't go looking for things that you can't see. And the way it works, when you're in the truck, you have a live feed that you can look at, like you guys, like everyone's watching at home, sees it live. But also you have what they call a delay screen. So sitting next to that is another screen which has like a 6 or 7 second delay. So it's live, but with a delay. If I see something on the field that the referees either missed or the referees asked me about, I can quickly look at my other screen and say yes or no, in terms of, no, it wasn't a knock on. Yes, it was a forward pass. No, there's no foul. Yes, there is foul play. We need to review it formally. Or it's not clear, and therefore we're not going to review it at that time. So we can clear things up really quickly. When it moves on to things being more formal, so the referee asks for a formal check, what you're then looking at is you've got multiple camera angles, which, again, everyone can see at home. You can see one camera angle and go, oh, there's nothing in that. You see another camera angle and go, oh, Jesus, he's taken his head off. Or actually, the contact, let's say in a high tackle, the contact was on the ball first, and then he's ricocheted and smashed the guy in the head. So you need to get all of that information first to make sure you get the right outcome. Because if you miss a piece of that information, you'll get the wrong outcome. And that's why it can take what seems like a little bit of time, because behind the scenes, I'm teeing up with the producer and the director those angles. So that could, and all of that can take probably no more than about 30 seconds in most cases, but it does seem like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem a long time when you're in the truck, because you're quite conscious of the fact that I've got to get this, I've got to get that. And the producer's saying to his team, and in the truck, there's probably 7 or 8 analysts who are all trying to get the information you want as quickly as possible. And they're brilliant, and they get it, and they get the camera angle. And sometimes they'll go, right, that's one there. And the producer will say to me, I've got another angle, which is, he's already seen, but I haven't, which goes, this is even better. So I might think I've got the best angle, and the referee might think that when he's seen it on the screen, but actually you'll hear, right, I'm going to show you another angle now, which shows you X and Y. And that's like, we don't say it live, but it's almost like the kill shot. That's the one that gives you the real determinative outcome that goes, right, that's either nothing, yellow card, nothing, penalty, yellow card, or red card.
Mm-hmm.
And that all happens really quickly. But those incidents are still quite rare in the game. So more often than not, you'll be checking things in what we call in the background and don't actually come live. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we always check every single try. So in the build-up to a try, I might see something as a TMO and think there's either been a knock on there that they've missed, or there's a forward pass they've missed. And I'm now going to wait and see what the outcome is. If there's no outcome in terms of a try, we'll just crack on.
That's very interesting.
But if there is an outcome, and for things like knock-ons, you're supposed to you can't go back more than 3 phases of play for it. But then, sometimes you might say, look, the whole world has seen that. The whole world has seen there's been a knock-on. If I'm sitting in the truck and I'm part of this team that's out there on the field and they've missed a big incident.
I think your phone's buzzing.
I've got to tell them. And everybody accepts that because it's the right outcome. And I think that's like this natural justice thing that you kind of work on.
So you're told every try you will check it, because that's what I was saying. It's like every try, even when it's really clear, sometimes they check things, but you as a TMO is told to check every try the 10, 15 seconds before, whatever.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll give ourselves time while the kicker's lining up. So that you probably got a minute, haven't you? By the time the try scored, everyone's in all the hooping and hollering, celebrating, all the rest of it. The kickers walk back, to take the kick. You've probably got 30 seconds or so there of dead time where you can check something without actually stopping anything. And it's only at the point where you go, there was this happened before that try, or he's lost it forward in the grounding. Mm-hmm. So because what happens, and this is, so especially when you're working on a light. So imagine the broadcaster now tries are real dramatic moments. And they want to show the try, the lead up to the try, the celebration, all of that. So you as the viewer get that full experience. Meanwhile, I'm saying to him, I think there's a problem. Okay, so I'm now looking at that potential problem on a 6x4 quad screen. So I'm now looking at a 6x4, not a full HD,
all like that
screen. Yeah, 6x4. I'm looking at that on what we call a quad screen. See, and if I can't see it on there, I've got to go, right, I need to see it on, then he'll put it on my delay or another screen for me to look at. And then I might have to say to the referee, hold the kicker, because I'm checking something. So he's now got to hold the kicker. And that's where, come back to your point, you get the delay. So you try and do as much as you can in the background without interrupting the game. 9 times out of 10, you don't have to formally check the try, because it's given and it's all okay. which is why the referee uses, the on-field try means you've got to find something that definitively that proves it not, and the opposite to that question. So what seems like a really intrusive process to some, actually the vast majority of it goes on in an unobtrusive way.
Something just popped in my head because I don't watch too many full games anymore. It's more highlights and stuff. And something when last game I was watching a while ago, it was where I heard a TMO say, you don't know who it is because it's a screen, say you might want to check that tackle or something, and the ref said overruled or something, and I was just like, does the man on the pitch in the middle have like full authority? He can overrule anything if he wants, or is it all equal?
No. One of the things that we were clear about, going all the way back, one of the things we changed after it first started was the referee makes the decision. The referee makes. So all I do is give him information. I don't make the decision. I can challenge him on the there was one recently where in a Challenge Cup game where the referee wanted to give a yellow card and did in the end. But the TMO was saying to him, because of the circumstances, I think it's penalty only. And the referee said, yeah, but blah, 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 blah. There was contact with the head. I'm going with yellow. And the TMO went, okay, that's fine.
So now, ref's decision, yeah.
Ref's decision. It's always ref's decision. So that TMO in the instance you described was actually not doing his job properly. So he's either got to come back and say, I've got clear foul play, stop the game, or say nothing.
Oh, he should have been nothing. Okay.
Yeah. So if there's nothing, it's nothing, and that's it. You don't say you might want to look at this, because then we end up in the scenario you kind of painted, which is we're stopping and starting for things that are unnecessary.
Off the cusp. It needs just to say something. It needs to be bang. That is definite.
Yeah.
Something wrong.
We go back to the clear and obvious, the real clear and obvious, and if you get a feel as a TMO that everyone's talking about it, you think, right, the guys on the pitch I need to look at this, because if I miss something, and you go, yeah, I have actually, right, okay, we need to come back and have a look at this, because I've now looked at it properly. It is, and I've had games where the referee said something, and I've tried to find it and said, can't find the footage, and he's gone, okay, play on, and then 5 minutes later, you see a replay of it, and you go, oh dear, he has clocked him on. But because it wasn't clear and obvious when we reviewed it, we did it when I did it on the delay, you could have had the opposite outcome where you go, there's nothing wrong there. We stopped the game for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously then you've got the fallback system, which is the citing process, which is an independent citing officer. So if we all miss something, he can review the game again and go, you missed a high tackle there that I think is a minimum yellow card. He gets a warning, or that's, in my opinion, it's a red card offence. He ends up in front of the tribunal. So, we don't worry about getting absolutely everything, because you just can't. And if you try and get everything, you end up with this massive stop-start affair, which takes forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Wow, wicked. That was cool. I think that's most of the things I want to run through. Delved into a lot of topics there. It was wicked, David. Most of the guys on here are coaches or physios or something, and I say, how can someone get hold of them for maybe help? But let's say someone wants some advice on something. Is there a best way that someone might be able to contact you, or in this group or anything? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, they can get me through the group. They get me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, David Rose 10 on Twitter. Those are probably the best ways to get me. So get me through the Facebook group. I'm still in the group. Still get all the stuff come through on there. So yeah, those are the two ways to get me. Or you can go to the World Rugby website and the laws page on there, and there's little videos and stuff you can look at that explain the laws and why decisions. What the law is intending to do and what they class as offences and stuff like that. Or every county's got a referee society in it, and you can look it up. Your county referee society, you just Google it and you'll find, wherever you are, Cornwall, Devon, Hertfordshire, Middlesex, every single county's got a society, and they've all got some online presence. So there's multiple ways of doing it. And I think the RFU website, I think it's don't know if it's still called Keep Your Boots On, but there's a bit about refereeing on that as well.
Cool. So yeah, get your own research done or contact David and the group. If anyone's not in the group, if you search Regan's Rugby First Team is our Facebook community. I think there's 1,300 guys right now. So it's a good gang of guys just looking to sort of support each other. But yeah, cheers, David. We went on quite a few topics then, and I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, get in touch with him, or if you want to get in touch with me, you know how to do it. I'll leave it there, David. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks, Regan. All the best, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye.